Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm very proud of the fact that NIH is located in the state of Maryland. And for more than 25 years, I've visited NIH regularly. And every time I come, my eyes pop with wonder, my heart beats with excitement, and I just wanted to, one of the reasons I wanted to be here today was to tell you and all of the people who work at NIH how proud I am of you and how America ought to be proud of you. Dr. Collins, you did path-breaking, pioneering work on mapping the genome, and we were in a race. You had another competitor down the street. You broke the code, and we invented not only mapped the code, but came up with new fields called computational biology, in bioinformatics, new exciting careers that help both us, and particularly the private sector, be able to come up with new products. And Dr. Fauci, you, what you've done, you were the guy who broke the AIDS code. You were the guy that came here when we were gripped in fear and near panic when we were shut down due to anthrax, and we had no place to turn in our United States government for information, but we turned to you, and you kept us on the right path so that we could keep the doors of the Capitol open. Dr. Varmus, a former head of NIH. You know, NIH directors don't leave, they leave legacies, and then they come back to create new ones. And we're so glad to see you. And we note that when you were at Sloan Kettering, you had a lot of other zeros behind your compensation package, which says something about why you came back. And to Dr. Rogers and Dr. Shern, who also was educated at Hopkins, we're just glad to see you. And Mr. Chairman, and what they do is the work that helps us manage the biggest budget busters in our healthcare budget: diabetes, heart disease, the chronic conditions that lead to chronic problems in the way we live and the way we have to fund healthcare. So I wanted to be here today to say, for all the people who work at the institutes, all the people who work at the various offices, all the lab techs, the security guards, the fire department, we're really proud of you. So having said that, I want to make sure we help NIH be NIH. So I want to stick to the basic mission in addition to these exciting new ideas. Dr. Varmus, Dr. Collins, how many research grants did NIH fund last year, and how many requests did you get for funding? In other words, what is the funding gap? And particularly, not only with the tried and true research, but also with those promising young, maybe more upstart type thinking.
So in FY10, we funded approximately 9,300 research grants. The success rate in FY10 came out at just about 20%. That is 1 out of 5 that were able to be supported. With the FY11 budget now in front of us, now that it's been decided, we won't do that well because, of course, as you know, after the dust all settled, we ended up with a 1% cut of $320 million, although I really want to express
So that's what 1% means, $320 million?
That's correct. But I do want to express my appreciation to members of this committee because I know there's a great deal of debate about exactly where the dust would all settle out. And certainly many of the proposals were vastly worse than this. And I know many people really went to bat for NIH, and we appreciate that enormously. But we do believe that in FY11, with some uncertainty in the number because we don't actually know how many grants we will receive, and of course we're talking about a proportionality here, that the success rate will fall to approximately 17 to 18%, and that will be the lowest in history. We will do our best to try to manage the resources that we've got, and we've made a number of adjustments to try to keep that number of grants.
But for every one grant that you can fund, let's even go to before fiscal 11, how many are unfunded?
So it would be 5 out of the 6. If you have 6 grants in front of you, we're going to fund 1 of them, and 5 of them are going to go begging.
All of which are quite promising. Now let's go to, much is made about recruiting young people into science, and we want a lot of initiatives in that. But young people follow opportunity. So when we look at your internship, your fellowship program, both for high school, undergraduates, and so on, again, how many students can you have come in to NIH, and how many? In other words, how many can you take, and how many apply? What's the enthusiasm gap here?
Well, there is enormous enthusiasm. Certainly, we run a number of internship programs on the NIH campus. We have a program for high school students and college students who come and spend 10 weeks in the summer. That is always oversubscribed by at least a factor of 5 in terms of the number of slots that we have available in the space that's in the labs. We also have a program for individuals who are finishing college, who are really interested in science, but they're not sure whether they want to go to graduate school or medical school. They come and spend a year, sometimes 2 years, doing full-time research in the lab. I have 3 of those students in my lab right now. They're enormously energized, excited about what they're doing, and they go on to do great things. This is a really important program. But there again, the number of applications we have for that so-called post-bac program is at least 4 or 5 times greater than the number of slots that we have available to offer.
So while we're busy, we like to pound our chest and come up with all kinds of things and education to encourage people for science, but our young people are going in it, but they need opportunity, both in the public as well as in the private sector.
So, Senator, I've just set up, as part of my advisory committee to the director, a working group to look at our workforce issues. And I've asked Dr. Shirley Tillman, the president of Princeton, to co-chair that, because I think we need a better handle on what the supply and demand issues are in terms of the biomedical research workforce. We want to be sure that we're looking forward with a clear eye towards all of the different pathways that are going to need well-trained, doctoral level biomedical researchers, and that we, NIH, as a major source of training support, are appropriately tuning our programs so that we have the numbers right in terms of how many people we are bringing in and what kinds of careers we're preparing them for.
Well, I think this would be enormously useful to this committee, Mr. Chairman, because, as you know, this is a topic, a big public policy topic we ponder all of the time. My last just comment or question is, with all the talk of the shutdown, and during H.R. 1, a cut to the National Cancer Institute, which was stunning to many people, including me. What is the morale at NIH now that they thought that they might be sent home and told that they were non-essential and the cuts might be coming? I mean, I must say both the chairman and the ranking member were enormously supported to minimize the disaster, but it was not a victory.
So I would say this was a very difficult period to go through. We were required, of course, in preparation for what appeared to be a very high likelihood of a shutdown, to define how we would manage that. And that meant defining which particular employees were considered essential and which were accepted was the term that was used, and which were non-accepted. And of course, those that were involved in patient care or management of animals couldn't very well just not come to work, but others were told, I'm sorry, if there is a shutdown, you can't come to work. Think about how that feels if you're a postdoctoral fellow who's in the middle of an experiment that you've been working on for 2 or 3 weeks and has another couple of weeks to go, and you're being told, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to come to work tomorrow if the government shuts down. It did have a very significant effect. People were quite shaken up by that. I think people are, in the aftermath of that, feeling a little uncertain about what it's like to work in this environment and hoping that we won't face that again. But again, I think everybody understands these are terribly, terribly difficult times for our country. I just want to show you one image because I think it might be actually useful.
Okay, I'm going to just let this chairman regulate the time. I'm fine with it, but if that's okay with the chairman.
It'll take 1 second. This is basically why we are in such a crunch.
Oh, this is a terrific slide.
So this is, this shows...
It's more like the way my heart rate went up during the shutdown mode.
So in blue, you see the appropriations for NIH going back to 1998. You see the doubling that happened between 98 and 2003. And then you see that since 2003, the NIH budget has been much more in a flat trajectory. But in yellow, you see the effects of inflation, the Biomedical Research and Development Index, which has been eating away at our buying power since 2003, placing us now, even with the president's budget, in the range of what we were at 2001. So we're sort of where we were 10 years ago. You see the Recovery Act dollars there in 9 and 10, which were a wonderful boost to the scientific community, but of course that was two-year money. That is why the success rates are now dropping to where they are. It's all pretty much clear what the consequences would be once one considers what's happened to buying power for research.
Thank you.